Hello, and welcome back to the Self Love Witch podcast. This is your host, Kim, also known as Intentional Mommy. Thank you so much for tuning in today. As you guys know, I always say this episode is very special because they're all special. Today's episode is, of course, a part of Manifestation Mondays. If you have never been present or ever listened to one of my Manifestation Monday podcasts, Manifestation Mondays is completely focused on the power of manifestation. We speak on things as far as energetic wise, spiritual wise, physical wise, just having a day focused on manifesting and a day focused on embodying that whole essence of manifestation and just kind of really digging deep into manifestation and deep into creating the life that you want. So today's episode of Manifestation Monday, I wanted to talk on the power of feeding yourself the right soul food. I have this thing that I call soul food Sundays that I really just do for myself. And really what that goes into is just I love to feed myself with things for my soul, for my mental, and for my spiritual beings, within, because we're more than just a body. We're more than just a person. We're so many essences. You get what I mean? One of the main things that I feel has been so helpful in my manifestation process and just keeping myself aligned and just grounded and just where I need to be mentally, emotionally, spiritually, to be able to manifest and to be able to just pay attention and focus on whatever it is that I'm trying to get or whatever I'm trying to be, is watching what I feed myself energetically, mentally, in every essence of the world, physically. But right now, what I really want to focus on is that spiritual aspect and that mental aspect the most, because let's be real, the power of the tongue, of course, is powerful. I spoke about that in the previous Manifestation Monday. But before the tongue works, the mind works. And we really get a decision on how we choose to speak and how we choose to manifest and how we choose to place spells on our lives with the things that we say. Before they are brought out into word form, they are in our heads. So I wanted to focus on the mental aspect of manifestation and making sure that I speak on the importance of nurturing that part and being disciplined with that too, because that is legit where everything comes from, your mental. So today I was working, I was chilling, and I was like, you know what? The past few days I've been feeling so overwhelmed. I've been just so focused on a lot of things outside of myself. I haven't really checked in with myself mentally, spiritually, energetically. I've just been like all over a little bit, it feels like. And I feel like everyone can kind of realize when they're kind of being spread thin a little bit, when they're kind of giving themselves in many different directions. They're stretching themselves out way too much, way too often. And I realized I was getting to that point. And I was like, okay, whoa, I have to chill because it's time to check in. It's time to check in. It's time to check in. So I was like, okay, let's relax today. Let's work, but let's chill. Let's relax. And let's feed ourselves some soul food. My idea of soul food for me, this is just for me, whatever works for you, whatever gets you centered, whatever gets you right. I love watching videos or reading books by my favorite authors or by women that I feel are soulful women. And some of those women are like Toni Morrison, Eartha Kitt, Maya Angelou, India Arie, Jill Scott, Lauryn Hill, Erykah Badu. Women like that I love to tune into because those women, I feel like their essence, their art, their presence has all influenced me in a major way. And I like to go back to those parts of myself where I feel like gets me back in that space, that energy, that zen, that peaceful feeling, because I feel like that's where you can manifest from the most, and that's where you can go towards your bliss and go towards your joy the easiest. I feel like that's where things flow the most. I know when I'm not in my most authentic energy, meaning separate from the outside world, separate from life and the stress that some things can bring, and separate from other people, separate from other connections that I may have formed, separate from everything outside of myself. I try to make sure I have this boundary set now more than anything, because I am in the process of really, I really am in the process of really changing my life and really, just elevating and allowing myself to grow and making sure I don't hinder myself in any way. So I've definitely been working on having this boundary to where I know when to check in, and I know when I'm hungry, when I know when my soul is like, okay, I need some soul food and I need to get back right. And I need to, and the goal is to not have to wait until you are practically starving for soul food. I feel like the best thing to do is have a routine. Have a routine when it comes to feeding that mental, spiritual, and emotional part of yourself. Definitely. Not getting so caught up in everything outside of yourself. Because I feel like what I've noticed the most is when you are in a space where you are cultivating your garden, where you are really, and it may not even be that you're trying to attain any material things. It could just be you're just trying to embody this energy that you need for yourself, or embody this energy that you want for yourself. I feel like it's so important to understand how your mental plays such a huge role in that more than anything. Because let's be real, your environment could change every single day, but if your inner reality is the same, it will feel no different. And I feel like I'm learning the true value of my mental and emotional attention. I'm learning how much of a boundary needs to be set as far as what I give my energy to energetically, emotionally, what I react to, what I watch, what I listen to, the songs. My God, don't get me started on the songs. The songs, the books you read, the videos you watch, the everything, I feel like has really opened my eyes to how you really do create this entire thing for yourself. You just don't realize the many steps that go into creating your reality. You know what I mean? Because for me, I had to sit down and be like, sometimes you get to a point sometimes. You're like, how did I get here? You're like, how did I get here? What did I do? How did this happen? And you can't really pinpoint, because sometimes things happen to, occur so fast, so quickly. And this could be good or bad, it doesn't always have to be, negative. It could be like, how did this happen? This is so quick. And I don't think people often put the value on their mindset, how much that actually was the main thing that did everything. The mindset, the mind frame, the mental notes, the attention, the being disciplined with your attention and your time, your energy. That plays such a huge, huge, huge role. And it's more than just, waking up, doing some affirmations. It's more than just, doing your meditations. It's more than just, it's it's beyond that. It all starts with how you think and how you dedicate your time and your energy. And my God, I feel like I've noticed, if I didn't learn anything this year, what I learned the most was I can't even find the word I want to describe this for. The absolute importance. That's the biggest word I could put. Importance of being completely intentional with your time, with your emotional connections, with your mental goodness. I feel this so deeply. This is why I'm just like speechless a little bit, because you really do create this whole, everything before you create it. You really do. You really do. By how you think and how you operate in the world. And sometimes it's a little trippy. It's like, dang, like, you mean to tell me my thoughts can literally create my whole life? Yes. Because, and I've been trying to analyze it deeper, it's like, let's get a little deep, So if I wake up one day and I say, I want to be a millionaire. Let's make it simple. If I wake up every day and I'm like, I want to start juicing every day. Okay. So if I wake up in the morning and I'm like, okay, I want to juice every day, my mindset is going to be set on, okay, that's what I need to do in the morning, right? So when I wake up, I know, maybe I need to go to the grocery store, or maybe the day before I'll make sure I go to the grocery store because I know that that's what I need to do in order to juice, right? So every day, I'm preparing my mason jars. I'm preparing the fruit. I'm cutting up the vegetables. I'm doing all this, doing all that. And so I have a process, right? And my mental is kind of like strategically making sure that at the end of the day, I'm meeting that specific goal, which is to juice these juices, right? Now, let's say if I still said, I want to juice, but my mental capacity was like, well, it's a maybe. Like, we'll see, and I'll just kind of fit it in when I fit it in, but I never really get to it, and I'm not really focused on it. So it's kind of like a spur of the moment thing. It's not consistent. Just that essence of just knowing, like, it really is up to me. Like, no one is in my head telling me, like, no one's telling me you can't juice, like, you have too many things to do. No one's telling me that but me. Like, I decide that. I either decide if I have the time or if I don't. I make that decision. I really do. And taking that power back has been life-changing, honestly. Make time for what is important for you. Make time for what's important to you, especially for your mental, emotional, spiritual health. Make time for what keeps you grounded. Make time for what keeps you centered. Because at the end of the day, your peace, your sanity, your emotional well-being, your physical well-being, your spiritual well-being, those are things that cannot be taken from you. Those are things that are cultivated by your hands and your mind and your actions only. And I feel like too often we as a people, we just take those things for granted. And we really feel like those are the things that have to be sacrificed because those are things that are not tangible. And so in this materialistic world, in this world where we're so focused on, consuming things and building things and having material things, we don't tend to focus on the things that are not seen, but definitely felt and definitely necessary for all of those other things to even exist. And for those things to even be maintained properly. As I recently turned 27, my biggest thing for me was like, definitely, you see life from different viewpoints, definitely as you get older and definitely as you go through certain things. My main thing for me has been to never get attached to any physical thing, especially if it sacrifices the things that require, the things that are necessary for me to be here in a healthy and blissful way. It's like my mental health, my emotional health, spiritual health, my time, attention, my peace, my energy. I don't want to sacrifice any of those things anymore. I used to feel like that was necessary to do to survive in this world, or to just exist in this world and to interact with people. And that was my mistake for believing that, because that's not the case. You don't have to put up with things that you don't want to. You truly don't. You don't have to do anything. If we want to get really real about it, you don't. You don't have to do anything. You really don't. You make the decision on what you have to do. All you're put here to do really is just live your life, But, the things that are important to you must always be evaluated. And sometimes that list changes as life goes on. Some things that were once important to you, you realize that, it's not really important to me anymore. Because as things go on, as life changes and transforms you, you just learn to, I feel like as you get older, inevitably you learn the true value of your essence, of your energy, of your time, of your peace, your freedom, your integrity, all those things that are just intangible things. So I say all this to say, please dive into your soul food plate. Please feed yourself daily, weekly, monthly. The more I learn about life, the more I understand that the soul is the most precious thing, and it must be protected. It must be nurtured. It must be valued. It must be honored in everything that you do. And, I just feel like flowing from a heart space will always keep you in that energy, where that flow, that authentic flow, where I feel like the divine creator just will always bless someone who is completely flowing from their soul space, from their heart space, from that authentic part of themselves, that genuine part of themselves. And I feel like you recognize that in people, because you speak to certain people and you could tell that they have a genuine energy, and that they're not there for a facade, and they're not just existing or being somewhere or acting away for a specific response from people, or that authentic energy flowing from that authentic soul space has become so rare these days, especially post 2020 and the pandemic and everything like that. I really feel like it really did a number on people's souls. And so I just say all this to say, a part of manifesting and just being happy and being blissful is just operating from that space where you are completely at peace with yourself. You have to be at peace with yourself, I feel, to manifest, what you're really needing and wanting for yourself. And I really hope this touches somebody, because it definitely touched me. And please, like I said, please follow the podcast at the Self Love Witch Podcast. Please DM me. I love to hear from you guys all the time. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions for Manifestation Mondays, what you guys want to hear, certain topics. I am down for it all. I do want to start doing like a sensual Saturday or sensual Sunday kind of vibe coming forth in this upcoming week. So I'm going to try that out. I'm going to see how y'all like that. But I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. I want to say thank you for being you. Thank you for being a joy. Thank you for being a light. And much love to you. And I really hope that, today in this moment, you realize that you are needed, you are loved. And, if anything is feeling hard, if anything's feeling out of place, if you are just feeling completely out of whack, I encourage you find something that makes you feel at ease, find something that makes you feel at peace, and just dive into that for a little while. Dive into all the things that make you feel like you. If you love reading, read a book. If you love nature, go to the park. If you just need some fresh air, take a walk. Don't get caught up in the maze. Don't get caught up in the illusion of everything. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that's really, really real, if we want to get real technical about it, is the soul. So completely nurture that. Take care of yourself. Love yourself. And until next time, peace.